All right. Hi. So, have you ever had one of those moments where you're lecturing and you kind of have an out-of-body experience and you can see the faces of your students and you can kind of hear your robotic voice going on in the background and you realize the students are not paying attention or they've completely missed the objective? Today, we are going to lecture over techniques of an effective lecture. These include giving students tasks, using signals, and calling audibles. Here's a better way to start the class. Start with that provocative question or that scenario, but instead of then telling them what they're going to learn, tell them what they're going to do. Today, you're going to be working with your group and you will prepare a summary on a note card over effective lecture techniques. During this micro lesson, you're going to take bullet point notes over different techniques you hear. At the end of the video or the lecture, you are going to sign the back of your card and you're going to turn that in to me. Providing tasks during the lectures helps ensure the students are working, that there's purpose, and that there's intentionality behind what you're doing and what you're saying. There's different ways to provide tasks. You could use Cornell Notes, you could use summaries, you could copy your Google slideshow for the students to have where they can redo the words in student-friendly terms. You can have graphic organizers, you can give students choice. Here's today's big picture. Stop talking during a lecture the moment you realize that the student's attention is drifting away. Big picture. That's difficult for some people to hear because reading a room is something that is a learned skill. It is not a natural behavior and it takes practice. Many people do not attempt to read the room or they go into a robotic mode because sometimes it's just easier to do that because the other side of the story involves you realizing they're not paying attention, don't understand something, and having to call an audible. And calling an audible or changing something up in the lesson means you have to have that planned. And that scares people. One way to keep the students involved in the lesson is to use something called finger feedback. I'm going to ask you a true or false question. Okay? True or false? I'm talking right now about a new way that students can participate in a lecture. If you think that's a true statement, you're going to hold up 1 when I say go. If you think it's false, you're going to hold up 2. Ready? Go. Using finger feedback allows you to quickly get an assessment on your students' understanding, but also if they're paying attention. Try this one. I want those who are only sure that they have the right answer to hold up fingers whenever I ask. Go. Okay, so that's an incorrect statement. You have to disagree with that, hopefully, because I want everyone to try, everyone to tell me what they think whenever I ask for their opinion. By participating in a lecture, it lets me know that you're paying attention. It also helps me understand whether or not I'm getting the point across to you guys. There's no need to pay attention in my lesson because when I ask a finger question, you could just look around the room and copy what most people are showing the teacher. Ready? Go! 1 or 2, agree, disagree. So if you're holding up 2 fingers, then that means you disagree, and you are correct. It is smarter to be involved. I tell my students, think for yourself, don't be a poser, don't be a fake, don't be a follower, be unique, be proud of yourself, and don't waste an opportunity to learn. Finger strategies work best if the questions are prepared in advance. You can even have students keep score in a section of their notes as kind of like a game for how many times they got a finger question right. You could also ask the same questions more than once in order to reinforce the content or the objective. Using signals are a great way to manage your lesson, not just to get feedback, but also to provide structure in your lesson. I use signals such as cards that may be attached to a lanyard. I can use digital signals that show up on the screen. I use lights, I use sound, I use all different things to manage the lesson. For example, when to pick up your pencil and write, because I know that if you're writing while I'm talking, you're probably not fully listening. When to talk to a partner, when to stop talking to a partner, when to stand up, when to sit down, when to start a new section in your notes, or maybe when to ask help, how to ask for assistance. All these non-verbal cues that you can use to help things run smoothly. All right, fingers ready. Have you ever used signals to help manage your classroom or get feedback from your students? Ready? Go. 1, you agree, 2, you disagree. If you answered yes, that you agree, let's take 30 seconds to discuss with the group how you use those signals in your class. All right, you may begin.
So I'm just modeling how I'd use student talk in a lesson.
but here's a few tips. 1, always plan moments for student talk. 2, use visible timers. 3, facilitate conversations with or assess target groups during this time. And 4, afterwards, always call on random students to share part of what was discussed. Remember, here's the big picture. Today, if you don't hear me say anything, hear this. When you notice the students are starting to not pay attention or miss something, not understand the main objective, stop talking. You have to be self-aware, and that's one of the most difficult things because you also have to plan for audibles. You have to plan for those moments for what you're going to do. Here's a couple ideas. You could pair up students who understand something with students who don't understand something. For example, if you're holding up a 1, I want you to find someone who has a 2. Okay? Explain a concept, practice a problem, take a moment to do that. You could also divide the class into 2 groups. This is my favorite thing, and I have my students that understand it working on an extension or practice problems while I stay and do another workshop or fishbowl lesson with those students that are struggling. You can also use brain breaks. Take a 1 or 2 minute break to play a game, watch a video, do a class challenge, scary story, dad jokes, just something to say, all right, let's re-engage. The last point that I would like to make is about the quality of the presentation. There's a lot to say about how professional your presentation looks and how well prepared it is. This means you have to be intentional with everything you do. That means student involvement. How are you making sure the students are involved in the lesson? Do you have pre-made questions ready to go? Do you have audibles planned? Do you have those moments where you might have to change up things because students don't understand or their attention is slipping? And do you purposely reiterate the main point throughout the lesson? Like our main point is to stop talking when the students start to slip away. You have to have something ready to go. I'd like to conclude today's presentation by allowing you to catch up on your bullet point note cards by a couple things you learned. Try to have at least 5 things you heard today. Please sign the back of that card and you're going to turn that in to me. Thank you.